So the pie crust that we're going to be doing today for you is actually going to be consisting of butter, sugar, flour, and then egg. So what we're going to do first, you need to make sure that your butter is cold. And so we're going to mix our dry ingredients. So we have our sugar here, and I'm just going to massage that into our flour, and then I'm going to put it right on our board. You can mix this in a mixing bowl. I rather prefer it actually on a table, and the reason is that you have more surface area, and sometimes if you're mixing a pastry dough, which this is, it'll push into the mixing bowl and then it'll go like a skateboarder and go right up. So now I'm going to put my dough right here. So I'm going to make a little fountain again. I have my butter here. I have a little dough scraper. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut it up into smaller chunks, because then as I'm working it in, it'll be a little bit easier to incorporate. Alright, so now we have little chunks, and I'm going to do this in increments. So I did this half, so what I'm going to do now, push this in. Again, I am right-handed, but I'm going to use my left hand. Just going to start barely going into it. And you'll be able to feel the bigger chunks of butter while you're incorporating. And all I'm doing is literally just pushing through. So I'm grabbing the flour, grabbing the butter, pushing through. Do the same exact thing. Go against using big chunks, because it'll take you longer and you'll actually overwork the pastry dough as well. Okay. Get you. But just remember, if you do box grate the butter, you need to put it right back into the refrigerator before making this dough. And consistency wise, what we're looking for after is going to be cornmeal. And so whenever I rub my fingers with everything, it's going to need to resemble cornmeal, and as you can tell right now, it does not. Now if you would like, you can go very, very softly by just grinding it, pushing it between your fingertips here. Looks lovely. So now what we're going to do with this, and again, looking for that cornmeal consistency. Now we're going to add into that 2 egg yolks for this recipe, because I'm doubling everything. And now we're going to mix this in as well. Alright, so now you have 2 options of what you can do with this. And when I say 2 options, now I can immediately go into my pie crust. If you do that, you have to understand that first off, it'll have to be what we call the sprinkle method of pie crust, which is literally using bits and pieces, sprinkling them, and then pushing it into the dough. If you would also like, you can now wrap it in plastic wrap, make it into a disc first, and then we can refrigerate it for about 45 minutes. And then what that will do is that it will help harden up, and then you can roll it out. Now whenever you roll out any pie crust, you need to have a sheet of plastic on the bottom and then a sheet of plastic on the top, because then you won't have any of the pie crust actually sticking to your work surface. So now all I'm going to do is put it in some plastic wrap, let it sit in the refrigerator for 45 minutes, roll it out, and then put it right in our pie pan. Okay, so now I have rolled out the pie crust. I've rolled it to about 1/2 inch. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to bake this at 350 degrees, but before that, I need to poke it. And so what I'm going to do is uniform all the way around with a fork. I'm going all the way to the bottom also. And that's going to help some of the steam release. And seeing that nothing is actually in this filling of the pie, we actually need to put a parchment paper on top and then a weight that is not going to disrupt anything whenever we do put it into the oven and we bake it. So now that I've essentially forked it, I'm going to put my piece of parchment paper right in the center, barely pressing that down. And then I have some dried beans I'm just going to put right on top, one layer. And what this is going to help prevent is from the pie crust actually rising. Seeing that again, no filling is actually in it while we're baking it. And so now I'm going to bake this at 350 for 25 minutes, and then when we get done, we'll let it cool down, and then we'll put pastry cream in it, which we'll talk about a little bit later.